awkward. It's a little bit.
It's the only time in show history there was a full second without sound.
I thought maybe I could help.
Oh, the love doctor.
No, not so much the love doctor. Well, look, first of all, happy birthday,
Thank you.
Bonte.
I appreciate it.
I've been
Happy
listening
birthday.
all morning. You had E40 on, now you're B40. That's your new nickname. So
That's a great name.
Yeah, we're going to use that all year. And so happy birthday. I wanted to make sure that I got you something. So I got you something.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I got you something, but it's really not important what I got you. What's important is how I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
Because see, I got you this burrito right here. Like you didn't win the burrito bet, but it's your birthday, so I'm going to get you a burrito. But I thought I could take this opportunity to not just give you something, but show you how you can give it to somebody. So we've been doing this changeover now for about a year. We've been doing this changeover. So I think it's time to take it to the next level right now, Bonte. I think it's time to take it to the next level. I want you to stand up right here.
Oh my
I want
God.
you to stand up.
Oh,
and this is how you give it to
Mark is on knee,
Bonte,
on bending knee, boys to men.
B40, will you eat this burrito? I do. There it is,
boy.
man.
Oh,
That's
my
all you got
God.
to do.
Mark has just proposed a burrito to
That's all you
Bonte.
got to do.
Bonte's black,
That's all
but
you
he's
gotta
red
do.
right now.
Oh, boy. I just broke this microphone.
Oh, my goodness. You did just break it.
I did.
That's boys
I did. I just broke the microphone. That's all right. That's all. I'll be a game show host. For the next 10 minutes.
That is incredible.
Well, this is how you know this is a true roaster. 408 on the Comcast Business Text line. If and when Bonte gets married, will he ever take off his wedding ring? That was a topic of conversation about a month ago.
I do it all the time.
Yeah, well, a lot of people was like, "Don't you dare take that wedding ring off." Shasky says he does it all the time.
I know a lot of guys go each way on that. When I was married, I did not take it off. I did not. I worked out in it. Nope. Showered in it. Worked out.
See, any sport, I got to take it off. It's all off.
Circumstantial for me.
Yeah.
I have broken my ring finger twice, and so I have this wonderful, huge bump on the bottom of my finger. And so taking a ring off is an act of God.
Yeah.
So once it gets on, it's on forever.
Wait a minute. So you've had
except for not really.
You've had a who's who of co-hosts. I never know who's coming in with
you're
it.
like speed dating.
Kruger,
Yeah.
Dickinson, because He's milking his paternity leave.
Check what I'm about to throw at you today.
I'm looking at the screen here, and it's Sean Salisbury. Good luck, Willard, getting the word in, because Sean's ready to roll.
You are friggin' screwed for 3 hours.
That's what I just told Sean. I said, I got to do something with B40 for a second, and then you can take the next 3 hours. And then the next 3 hours, you go.
Now, Bonte, let me ask: was the caller? Was that your girl that called in?
Yeah, that was.
It better be.
Right. I was going to say, if not, you don't show up. Don't come back to the house.
I'm down 28-3. I'm down 28-3 like Belichick in the Super Bowl, Sean.
Or something will be hanging in a sling, and it won't be your head. Okay. Now, one real quick about that, and nice proposal by you, Mark, is the best way, the ring thing. I'm with you, John. I have sports. All that. I'm not married. I was.
Yeah.
And the best way to do it is you don't have to worry about the ring. Just never pull the trigger, brother. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Get married, then go for it. Get a good woman keeper. There you
Sean,
go.
I'm running out of time here, man. I went through Europe without proposing, and people say, "What the hell you got through Europe without it?"
You know what they say? A good woman mess around, meaning you don't give her that ring. Soon you won't be around.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. Delay a game penalty. Hey, Sean, I'm glad that you're on today because we were kicking this around. Look, I was around for Joe and Steve. I remember the height of sports radio in this market because it was right at the beginning. Pete Franklin, Radnich, Ralph. I mean, it just took off. But it wasn't what it is today in terms of the sports, just the appetite, the 24/7 media, and then the quick pivoting on everybody's convictions. Have you seen anything like what we're seeing right now with Trey, the Niners, the 49er quarterback situation? And you played in the league. You played quarterback.
Right.
I can't think. This is insane.
Yeah, it is to the point, and you make such a. Not only is it valid, but it's right on point because with Steven, and I think the part of it is when Joe was moving on, at that point, the transition that we knew that there was a Hall of Fame guy behind him, and we expected it, right? And we'd seen it. Now with Trey, guys, what are we on? Start number 3. This will be start 4.
Yeah,
is this going to be start 4?
Yeah,
he's had three of them, and then one his last year in college because of the COVID and all that. So he hadn't played a lot of football. So. And I try when I say I judge the position harshly, expectations
for sure.
But it's weird that the people outside of the Joe Montanas, Steve Youngs, or people who judge the position judge it more harsh than the people who are in it and know how hard it is to play.
Exactly.
Listen, I'm not giving people hall passes, but good gracious, I mean, and here's why: because you replaced a Super Bowl quarterback, and that's what Jimmy was there with a guy who didn't earn the job. He was given the job because of where he was drafted, the upside which he thinks can spread the field and where they think it can go. But he didn't go to camp and battle him out and win the job. And that's not a bad thing. That's the landscape we're in football now. But you make a great point. I have never in my life, with a guy with 3 starts under his belt, gone to the point where he is that we're talking about him like that he's Tom Brady, 23 years in the league.
Yeah. Before you get back in there, Mark, the all-22 stuff, it drives me nuts. No, we talk for a living. I don't pretend to play at a college level or pro level or this, that, and the other.
But you can still judge it. You know football.
Agreed.
You don't have to play it to judge it.
But this is where I struggle with it. It's one thing to highlight a great play, a great player, showcase it. It's another to sit there and say with conviction where a guy should have gone, what he should have done, what the principles were on the play when none of us know. I've seen coaches in any sport argue over what a primary read might be on a given play based on the defense that you've seen out there. And they don't, these are the pros, and they're arguing about it. So I feel like with all the access that we have to all of these data and this time, it's actually made it even crazier.
Oh, and it's made it worse because we'll sit at home.
Yes.
And for instance, I played. I'm watching a coordinator call a play, right?
Okay, yeah.
And you get the all-22. And for that coordinator on 3rd and 4, it may be go curl flat, check down to that coverage.
Yes.
And at home, they're saying, well, wait a minute, the backside bank post was wide open.
Right.
Of course it was, with 4 seconds and you sitting on the replay in your house.
Right.
So, and that coordinator may have said on 1st and 10, if you got the bank post backside, take it. If not, let's go curl to flat to check down combo. And your head's not even on that side of the field. So when people say it was wide open, well, we go through progressions and our head and our eyes follow. You are exact. And now with access, it used to be the tape that was rolling in the thing.
Right.
And people at home would, everything you'd say, they'd hang on. Now they're like, screw you, dude. I get the same access you do. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't care if you played or not. So we are unrealistic, fellas.
It jumped the shark when I saw people coming at Kurt Warner, who's in the Hall of Fame, talking about the 3rd preseason game against the Texans.
My favorite is like they'll see Marino with the throws the ball. You can't even blink as fast as Danny can throw it. It's like, dude, can you get the ball out of your damn hand? Well, what? No, yeah, Kurt, what do you know about throwing a 22-yard dig route on time and get out of your hand? By the way, how's that mustard-colored jacket? Baffling.
So I guess where I'm going with all this, guys, is that it seems, and look, we're guilty. We're a part of it. So I'm not trying to say that, and I'm guilty of this. And Jimmy, you could have done this, X, Y, and Z.
Right.
It just feels like we've reached a point where, like, I feel from my soul and my sanity, God damn, they need a win. Like, they need a win in the worst way to avoid even more of an avalanche of criticism.
Well,
think about this, fellas, for all you guys real quick, and you can answer this. Think about this, our jobs.
Yeah.
Think about what we do. I want you to think about the 3rd live show you did in your life.
I was terrible.
After you were pissing down your leg, and then you asked a question to somebody, and you asked like a 4-minute question, and the guy goes, oh, my bad. So, and he's on his 4th start.
Right.
Slow your damn roll, people.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing, though, and we all know this. When you just asked Sean, like, have we ever seen a reaction like this? And Sean, you said no. Let's also go, have we ever seen a situation like this, though, before? Because you just brought up, Montana Young, this is the home of
Tommy Maddox?
Right, it's the home of the best quarterback controversy of all time. But we've never, and when people said 2 weeks ago, what's the big deal about keeping Jimmy on the...
I was one of them.
This is the big deal. This
the
is
same
the
people
big
that
deal.
the same people that wanted Trey Lance in last year, like, whoa, wait a second now. I'm talking about fans. It's like, well, Jimmy would have won in Chicago because he'd have been better in bad weather, But Mark, you make a great point about this because when I sit there and think about it hasn't been like this, and think about a time. I know when Tommy Maddox was drafted by Denver and John didn't like it, but when have we had a Super Bowl quarterback in really the prime of his career who didn't get traded or signed somewhere else as a free agent or get cut because of still on the same roster with a guy who's got 3 starts after you've been to the NFC Championship game and there was no injury involved when it comes to it. That's
Foles,
one.
Nick Foles,
but
he got moved.
Sean,
with all that said, we're going to rip the quarterback position to shreds.
No doubt. Hey, Sean, I was at Soldier Field. And I admit this. Every television timeout, every dead ball, my eyes were wandering to see what number 10 was doing. Is he talking to Trey Lance? Is he next to Shanahan? Who's he throwing the football with? I couldn't help myself. It's there. And I just worry if the Niners go down 7-0 at home against the Seahawks and Pete Carroll, and I know this fan base inside and out, there's going to be a lot of nervous energy in that stadium, and it's just going to intensify.
And what if Geno outplays with all the what ifs we always ask on sports? If Geno outplays him and they win, and Trey's the reason in clean weather that they're not that he threw a couple picks. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Just like if he goes and throws for 4 bills,
it doesn't.
We shouldn't call him Joe or Steve. Slow your roll. It happens.
60% chance of rain Sunday, Sean.
No.
Yeah,
it's going up to 80.
But he's learned. But he learned from last week, right?
Sean, did you hear? 80% chance of rain on Sunday.
80%. Yeah, I decided Trey Lance is not playing any dry games this year. That way we could just use this excuse. Do we have any dome games this year?
Atlanta.
You got dome games. What are we going to do after that week? We don't have the rain excuse.
I am so glad I don't play now because it would suck. Hey, you threw 4 touchdowns, but remember that check down you missed on 3rd and 4? Yeah, but we won. Dude, they want Dusty Baker fired here. Because of the lineup change. I mean, and they're the number 1 seed. So it exists all over the place. But we all do it, and we're all going to judge it.
We're also watching different stuff. I'm watching Trey Lance. I think this was after his media availability at practice, after practice yesterday. And he's getting asked about getting Brandon Ayuk more involved. Why wasn't Brandon Ayuk more involved? And I'm thinking, well, sure. Like, we all want Brandon Ayuk more involved. But again, Bonte, you were there. You had better seats than me if you could look for Garoppolo because I couldn't even see. There was so much water in my eye. But the point being is, why wasn't Brandon Ayuk more involved? Because you could not throw the ball.
No.
Like the Chicago Bears number 1 receiver got 1 catch for 8 yards.
That's crazy.
Right?
One target.
You couldn't throw the ball.
Mark, here's what I tell fans that say that, and we're media. Like you said, Joe, we're all guilty of it.
Yeah, I'm
not dogging them.
Yeah.
And like I said, it drives me crazy when a former player says, well, that guy can't judge it. He didn't play. That's BS. We have enough access to know what you see with your own eyes. But you know what's crazy? I tell fans, as I told one this week, I said, well, imagine me walking you to a drive-through car wash and you got on the Super Supreme that you paid $16 for. Now you hold the ball. I'm going to get on the other side of it when it's all going down with the suds and everything going. You find me, and I want you to make an accurate throw. Now, a bit hyperbolic, but you get the point.
Yes,
right.
That's a good point.
You can't, the statistics you can't judge from last week, but where you can judge is decisions because Justin Fields had to play in it too.
Yeah.
So those are one of those you just gut it out and try to find a way to get to the locker room with a win. We'll see a better opportounity hopefully this week.
You know what I just took from all that, Sean? Are you telling me that the Super Wash is only $16 in Houston? I'm like, wait a minute! I'm driving to Houston for a car wash right now.
My bad. You have to have the Black American Express card in San Francisco to get that car.
Exactly.
Yeah, there it is.
I'm not talking about for me. I'm talking about for you guys. That's Black American Express. Dude, I'm still suffering through the Green American Express card.
That's $45 if you leave your house. That's right. In San Francisco.
Sean,
Super Wash.
What were some of the things that you took? Because we can critique the stats and the performance in this throw and that throw. What are some things that you saw early on from the kid or at any point in the game that are transferable or building blocks for him to move forward with?
Well, the Captain Obvious part of this for me is that we know he can move, right? We know he can extend plays when necessary. I just don't want that to become a crutch for him where it's like, oh, the first guy's not open, let me bail out and use what we all do, our biggest strength. So, but that, I think he's the command of what's going on, but being able to fight through it, knowing that you're not going to be able to survive throwing the football, that part of it. And in truth, I'm going to tell you guys, I learned more about a guy the next week after a game like this. We'll be at halftime of this week and how he's responded, if the weather's good, and how he overcomes it. But I loved what he said. I got some things to clean up and some things to do. But trying to judge, well, did he make the right read? You can't even see the read from even the TV, let alone there. But I do, and I'd be crazy to say if I think he's going to be a great player. I don't know. He's got all the skill set, but I got to see more of it in the fact that do things. I know what his strength is. I want to see if he can take that progression in the passing game and make me the consistent, simple play, which in a clean world with no weather, we'll get a better chance to see where his eyes go. I wish we had a camera in the back of the helmet or in the front of the helmet, and we could get that end zone shot where we can see where his eyes are working through his progressions, which was difficult to do. Last week was a survival game just to get through it and try to pull out a win.
So with that said, Sean, can we really take anything away from Shanahan's game plan this past Sunday against Chicago?
Well, we know what he wants to do, right? Run it, play action, change the launch point for Trey Lance, all those things. I'm still fat. That's one of those games where you look at it. If you had a game plan going in and you thought good weather, the second you wake up that morning, you say, okay, we have got to make some adjustments. And if you don't adjust, then you're not a good coach. I don't take anything away from, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. They couldn't do anything other than trying to hold on. Now, penalties, I don't care if it's raining sideways. Yeah. Those are the things that don't let the distraction become the reason you lost the game of, I jumped out of my stance, the weather was, I don't want to hear any of that. The penalties are more clean up than, Trey's going to make plays and make at least enough where we go, okay, I get it, but they've got to sustain them. You can't beat yourself. So for me, you're right. Game plan, that game plan you saw last week was not the game plan they had putting in during the week, I assure you.
So here's the thing that I'm stuck on right now with all of this.
What's that?
Especially if it's funny how we sort of all expect, and you just said it, Sean, like go back to the fourth time you hosted a radio show. That hit me because I was like, oh my gosh, like
it's terrible.
The most uncomfortable thing of all time, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, but here's the thing. The whole fan base knows you got a Super Bowl roster, and they know you have a situation where you can at least compete. And then you bring in Trey Lance, and if it doesn't work right away, we're supposed to say, well, that's not fair. We got to have patience and let a guy kind of grow into it. Is it fair for a fan to say, well, wait a minute, you can't take a Super Bowl roster and then give me a quarterback and tell me I'm supposed to wait a year and a half for this to work. So it like Trey deserves time to grow, but this roster doesn't have that time and the fan base doesn't have that. So what is a fan supposed to do with that subject?
That's a great question. And also think about, I'm going to even take it even further to his teammates. Let's think about this for a second. And the fan first. You're right. And we're not, guys, no matter how we think it should be, and we're not apologists, but how, at the position whether we should judge quicker or later, it doesn't matter. It's going to be judged quicker. When you give up what they gave up to get him, we don't have pay. We ain't got time to bleed, as Jesse Ventura said, right? in the movie, we just don't have time to bleed. So with it, you say, okay, it's instant, and this is a Super Bowl roster. Here's the deal. Let's say this goes on and it's up and down. Justin Fields does not have to worry about that. Neither do the Bears. Even though they won, that's right. They don't have to worry. We're gonna, dude. It's you. You throw 4 picks, you're coming back next week.
Right.
You throw 5 touchdowns, it's you, dude. You're going to take shots in the mouth. That's how we're not worried about who the guy's behind you because this is your show. We're going to win 4 or 5 games this year, and we're going to let it roll and see what happens. Then we'll talk to you when the roster gets better at the end of the year. This isn't the case because there's Super Bowl guy and a pretty damn good player in the league sitting over there, but you think you can do more with – that's why you're making the decision. Plus, you got to validate – and quite frankly, cover your ass at times when you draft somebody and give up those kind of assets to say, we're going to make him ready even if he may not be. That being said, the fans, I get their impatience. Think about it, teammates, and you mentioned, Mark, they go hand in hand, really. You can judge them both. Is this roster, aren't you doing a disservice? Whether one way, just from an overall umbrella statement, aren't you doing a disservice? You think Trent Williams is worried about 2027?
No.
You think George Kittle cares about 2028?
Nope.
And we're building this for then. They may be playing somewhere else. And I'm not saying they don't care about Trey Lance. It could reverse it if it was Jimmy. Your responsibility is to your team, not the feelings of one player. So, yes, the fans' impatience, I get it. But you don't want to start out and say that's a Super Bowl. And Trey Lance has the best roster of all the second-year quarterbacks.
Easily.
And it ain't close.
Sean,
it's not close.
Sean, do you think
Go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think that locker room is chirping? Are guys having that conversation?
If it is, it's a buddy. It's away from there where nobody allowed, where it's not loud talk.
Sean,
we all do. You sit around having a beer, man.
Right.
I wonder how Jimmy would have done. That's human nature, but you can't let it out now. 7 weeks into the season, if he's the reason things aren't going, let's just say he's not playing well. Then you look around and say, Super Bowl roster, are we just going to waste a year? Is that what we're doing? Because we owe it to him, because we drafted him high, and we got this guy who's helped us. He may not be spectacular. We may not have got there because of him, but we sure as hell didn't get to the Super Bowls in spite of Jimmy. So we're still not to the point of locker room divided.
Yeah.
We're not even close to that. But you owe it to your team to build a Super Bowl roster to give you the best chance to win every week, and that's what the coach's job is.
In a weird way, it's not exactly like for like because Steph is different from everything, but I feel like we're having a comparable conversation to the two timelines thing with the Golden State Warriors. Do you trade the rookies to get in some help to help Steph Curry? But in that circumstance, it would be Trey isn't the Steph Curry, because Steph Curry's the quarterback of the 49ers, or of the Warriors, excuse me, and is in a Hall of Fame trajectory. This was actually the exact opposite, meaning the most important spot on the offense is actually being held by a Moses Moody or a Wiseman or whatever. But I see comparable...
Well, you got both organizations.
You know where I'm going with this? I probably didn't lay it out properly.
Both organizations.
You did 100.
Yeah, they're trying to do two things at once.
Two timelines.
The difference is in the NBA, you can kind of do that because Steph Curry needs a night off. Steph Curry needs 15 minutes off. Whatever, you can have Jordan Poole be good, and
there's
Steph
enough
Curry
inventory.
And championships already,
right?
Yes,
and
that's
this
the
is
most
why
important thing.
This is why the quarterback position is different. It's different.
You know what else too with that, Mark?
What?
Yeah, you know what else with that? In football, while the quarterback position, we know how important it is. If that left tackle and right guard aren't blocking, you probably got no shot.
Yeah.
Over the
Steph can still just run up and grab the ball.
If you got two superstars on your team in basketball, you can win an NBA title. Now the Golden State's fortunate they got more, but the impact of like a Steph,
I agree.
What we're hoping is the quarterback makes that same impact.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes. But then again, we can't be comparing every single cat that walks into the league
that guy's
to a guy who flies around in a blue and red suit and has an S on his chest.
Okay, right.
Not fair.
So this is why tonight's game is so relevant, I think, to the 49ers.
What's that?
There are three quarterbacks in this league right now who, to me, from a talent standpoint, I mean, we can do Brady and Rodgers. We've been used to that now for 2 decades.
Allen.
There are three quarterbacks. It's Allen and the two guys tonight.
Mahomes and Herbert.
Absolutely.
I'm with you.
Who, are the young, up-and-coming guys who are going to run the league for the next decade.
Every team would want them if you don't already have Aaron Rodgers.
Can I throw Joe Burrow into the mix?
Sure.
Throw him into the mix.
Burrow.
And he threw 3 interceptions last week and nobody said anything.
That's called first round, go to the Super Bowl, hall pass.
Right.
That's exactly right.
But I think it was those guys. I'm still at that Buffalo 49er game in prime time was the game that made Kyle Shanahan go, you know what? We can't do this with Jimmy.
One of those.
I can't beat Josh Allen with Jimmy. And if you look at even the arc of those guys, Patrick Mahomes, yes, a big college, but not Alabama.
No.
Right? And then you look at Herbert. Sure, Oregon, that's big, but Pac-12, you're out there on the West. He's looked better in the NFL than he did in college. Josh Allen, Wyoming. Like, these are athletic freaks who someone said, you know what? I know they're not going number 1 overall, but we see it.
Yeah.
They've developed. Boom, they're going to run the league. I think it's the same thought process that led the 49ers to Trey Lance. And so for better or for worse, these are the guys that he's got to be compared to.
These are the hallmarks.
These are the guys.
Crazy enough, he was drafted as higher than all of them.
Higher than all of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Number 3. Real quick on the Seahawks. Geno Smith gets to win on Monday Night Football. They don't score a point in the second half, but that's a hard-hitting football team. Pete Carroll's running around. What did you take from the Seahawks in that emotional win over Russell Wilson and Denver Broncos?
I love what I see with Gino when a guy who people have buried as a backup and he comes in there and plays real efficient, good football, and not just efficient, made some plays to scramble and the throw. He played damn good. If he does that, they're not going to be the bye week everybody thought they were going to be. Right? They got some perimeter people. But one thing I know about a Pete Carroll team from SC and all the way through when they had the Legion of Boom is they will fly around and hit something. Mm-hmm. And if they're hitting you, you better strap it on because they will. This team's sneaky. They can run the football if the quarterback's efficient. They're the type that all of a sudden it's November and you're like, oh, damn. They beat a team that's got 2 losses and winning the division. They're not a bye week anymore. I was impressed with them, and Gino handled his business, which I love. He didn't have to be great, but he was.
Sean, you're a USC guy, and I'm going to get to that in 1 second. Why are you wearing a Boston Bruins hat?
Or
is that a UCLA Bruins?
No, this is the Red Sox.
I told you.
Did you just say UCLA Bruins? Did you just cuss?
It looks like a UCLA Bruins hat.
I knew it was a Red Sox.
This is the Boston. What do they call those?
The City Connect.
City Connect.
It's the City Connect. Okay. Let's put that to the side then.
Go ahead and finish. Bury me for it.
Baby blue, Sean. Baby blue, come on.
A baby blue bee on your head is a little
questionable.
Well, you know what? I always wear the hat of the team, meaning if it was the UCLA Bruins, that you're a Trojan for life and a Bruin for 4 years. So there you go.
I like that. Speaking of Trojans for life, I'm watching college football on Saturday. We don't talk a lot about it. I thought it was a great college Saturday. My God, there are like 55 USC quarterbacks playing in college football. It's JT Daniels, Slovis, who's the kid that's working with Lane Kiffin right now.
Oh, and Ole Miss.
Jackson Dart.
They're everywhere. And then I'm watching Caleb the other night against Stanford, and I'm like, oh my God. Like there's going to be like 17 former USC guys in the league.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first 15 quarterbacks taken in the NFL draft. An SC transfer. No, it's true. Listen,
it's crazy.
When in doubt, it really is, and they are all starting. And they're all pretty damn good. Slovis is accurate, but had they all stayed at USC, guess what? They'd all be sitting on the bench. The kid they got now. It's different at SC. Now, as long as we can get some stops on defense, which they did against Stanford, they're perimeter people and that quarterback right now.
Yeah.
And you know Lincoln. He's smirking the whole time, right?
Yeah.
I do too. Me too.
West Coast football needed him.
They did.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bad.
50 points isn't enough. They're going to be hard to stop. Now, when they run into Utah, just make sure you can play physical football. But with Lincoln and Caleb Williams and those perimeter receivers, it's a frightening team that's going to have to play against them defensively.
I love
Man, Sean's ready to go.
I love
Sean's ready to go. He's fired up.
Mark
Willard, good luck in the word in today.
Alabama, Texas.
I know Bryce Young. I know Bryce Young.
Running back for Texas.
Yeah, the running back is nice in Texas.
I got one
I'll
job
say this
today.
out loud: if Quinn Ewers plays 4 quarters last week,
they win that game. He looked good.
I don't know. Let me tell you,
is that the quarterback with the hair?
Yeah, he's the Don Mikowski lookalike.
Right.
He got a
He was at Ohio
He is
State.
the best pure thrower University of Texas has ever had.
Wow.
I'm telling you, the best pure thrower the University of Texas has ever had. Now, does that mean it's going to end up in a national title? I don't know, but we're going to have a hell of a fun time watching him.
The Bryce Young drive at the end
was great.
I can't stand Saban. I was rooting for that moment just because the kid's so dynamic.
He's had a couple drives. Auburn last year, 99-yard drive in the Iron Bowl.
When the temperature of the game goes up, even no matter how he's played, that dude's blood pressure goes down. He's friggin' money. Yeah,
Sean Salisbury, Mark Willard. It's going to be a fire show up until
Happy
high
birthday,
noon.
brother.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it, man.
This will be fun. I'll be listening.
Yeah.
Eat that
Thanks
burrito.
for the burrito. Thanks for the burrito. It was an uncomfortable show, but we got through it. All right, coming up, brought to you by Fremont Bank Full Service Banking. No compromises.
Go from boyfriend to hubby. So let's make that happen this year. Okay?